I've started the YouTube stream.
And I have started the Twitch stream.
Well, all right then.
Well, all
Hopefully
right
people
then.
Now
can
recording.
actually understand it.
Welcome to the Yang Gang Roundtable. It's Sunday, November 25th, 2020. We have Eric Chen here as our guest today. Welcome to the show, Eric. We're a basic income advocacy podcast. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, man. I love the enthusiasm. We're talking just a little bit before the show, so you get the gist. We're a basic income advocacy podcast. I'm just meeting you for the first time, but I think you already know Faye Ku, at least.
Yes.
And do you know
And
anyone
I know the
else
other Faye
here?
too.
Hanging out
You
with
do
my
know-
old
you-
I
buddy.
also, I also know the other
You
Faye.
know
San
both
Gabriel
Fays, right?
Valley represent 6'2".
So how did you guys
That's
meet?
right. Facebook, actually.
Very
There
common.
was supposed to be we were gonna do a yanggang outreach at the local community college,
Mhm.
and then we canceled. But then Faye messaged me and was like, well, anyway, we corresponded and we ended up having lunch together with Zephyr.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was the beginning.
And then we went and did Glendale, tabling at Glendale together.
Right, yeah, that was quite memorable because little Zephyr, I'm pretty good at hustling the canvassing. I would say it's a strength of mine, but he literally out hustled me, and that's for people who know me in the Yang game. That's like they know that's pretty hard to do. And
I mean, you did
but-
hustle a lot when I met
It's a little
you.
bit competitive sometimes.
Yeah, I think I met you at MacArthur Park, if I remember. Were you at those events?
Yes, I was at MacArthur Park
Remember when?
at the basic income march.
Right. Yeah, that basic income. But even before that, when Yang was still running, were you at that LA event with the fireworks and stuff? Not fireworks, but like the pyrotechnics.
I was there, but that was a big group, though. I don't think we met there.
Yeah,
we're
I don't
talking
think we met
about
there.
when
I just remember,
yeah, that was the rally, right?
Right, yeah, that big one that kind of put him on the map a little bit more. Yeah, that was awesome. I remember I got carpooled there and carpooled back, and it was so good. It's like just being surrounded by people who like, I don't know, they're all in it for the right reasons. It's like I've never felt really politically connected to anything, kind of like Bernie did at that time. I was very like despondent, but when Yang came on the scene, like I really felt like, oh, this guy gets it, because it was just such an odd, because I thought like with UBI, like I have enough for basic necessities, and I've always had enough, but I've always wanted to like create my own thing in the world and like invest into something. So I said the UBI would get me over that hump. So that's what got me really excited about his campaign. It would get me over the hump of just having my basics met to changing something in the world by like creating a business or starting something and stuff like that. So I was so activated. It's like if I get that direct 1,000 in my account every single month, like it's the most tangible change in my life. It's not like this top down bureaucratic, who knows what will happen. It was just like the tangibility of his ideas were what even more than just the UBI, like the ranked choice voting or like all the ideas he had with technology and time banking. I just saw them as so tangible and so doable. Whereas other politicians, their ideas were always like abstract and like a revolution. But it's like, okay, at the end of the day, what are you tangibly changing? And they're like, oh, we're just going to make you feel good. And I was like, no, thanks. Like, I want to have a plan.
Right, yeah, and I think for me, I think that someone who identifies as a person of faith and as someone who identifies as Christian, it felt like the Bible talks about, like the Christianity is supposed to be about good news to the poor. So it's like, okay,
Oh,
and how
yeah.
like you said, what's more tangible good news than just
Yes,
money?
yes. I know you were with Matt. Hang on. Who's that?
Matt
Matt
Dizzle.
Dizzle.
Matt Dizzle.
Yeah. Matt Dizzle. Matt Dizzle. Okay, because I saw you in one of his videos. And I remember like I met him and we were always talking together. Matt Dizzle was the one who got my universal basic income speech that I did on Toastmasters. He put it on his channel and it got like 300 something comments, 1,000 views. So now that's okay. I've connected all the dots.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah.
Dizzle and I
Okay.
we're good friends, so we still
Yeah.
talk, and we used to hang out a lot
Yeah,
more.
I was speaking a lot to him. I found his videos and then I started watching them. He made videos where he didn't show his face and he didn't show, but then all of a sudden when I was walking around in MacArthur Park, he was like, "Hey, Ariel," and I'm like, "Who's this guy who knows my name?" And he's like, "It's me, Matt," and I'm like, "Oh, it's Matt." No, that was always the best feeling for me because I'd have all these friends online. But then when I go to the events, it's like we meet up in the flesh, and it was such a it was so much more visible because so much of politics is done online with like wars and like your idea sucks, my idea is better. Like this was a time in politics when we all got together and it was just about like being friends and having fun instead of just like picking fights and being nasty, and yeah, this is cool.
Well, yeah, I think that's the beauty of the internet is kind of the URL, the URL to IRL loop.
Yeah.
So you connect on the internet, and then you meet in real life, and then it's
Oh
a
yeah.
virtuous cycle.
My best experiences in life were URL to IRL because I remember I had two friends. One of them lived in Japan and one of them lived in New Zealand, and we were talking on Zoom for like 2 years. And then when I finally had enough money to go visit them, we had a blast. Oh my god, they would just like show me around town and show me all the sights and like it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I mean that's where um like goes back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Right.
So like how could you reach your full potential, maximize your potential when you're stuck at survival? If you can't even survive,
Yeah.
how are you going to thrive? So that's just,
Right.
I mean, that's just
Right.
reality. I mean, I don't know what else
Yeah.
to say. It's just,
Right.
yeah, I mean, people need that. When people have that cushion, it really frees people up
Right. And
to be
it's like
productive.
we're not like and it's like what I hate, it's like it's only the celebrities and the politicians who don't have to worry about like spending money. They can just go out and be like, "Ah, yeah, oh, okay, here, I can just like give." And then it's like and then everybody wants to make friends with like this people or political people to have clout and to like have money so they can like do what they want to do. But that's such BS. It's like no one should be at a point where they have to worry about like their base and just to make friends with someone who has like tons and tons of money just because it's like they want to be free, but it's like the only way that can happen is is like leeching off someone who already has enough. Like, it's ridiculous, but the
Well,
system
okay.
kind of perpetuates that.
So what's interesting though is a shift in culture right now. Like there's a legit like movie industry, like these people made a decent amount of money, right? And they had tons of people working with them. And like now that the pandemic has happened, a lot of these movie stars or people who made movies are like, what do I do? Right? Because they don't know how to like do something solo. They know how to work as a group, right? And so they're trying to like reinvent themselves, right? But they don't have whole teams of people behind them anymore. And so these people are actually feeling the financial struggles, right? That they haven't felt before. So I mean, there is this like awakening I think, because they're like, oh crap, this kind of sucks right now. Because like, and I know this because of actual conversations I've had, right? Like, I can't assume
Right.
it's all of them, right? But the ones I've met, some are selling their second house, okay, or third. But like, it's hitting them. If they're selling this kind of stuff, you don't sell your assets on Food Network systems, right? Now would be the time. We just had on yesterday someone who was doing the Love Fridge project, right? And so they just like had community fridges. People, left what they, took what they needed, left what they, could. And so like it was a way of food sharing and getting away from food scarcity, right? And so they are collecting food from like stores and putting them in there, and there's a lot of it, so like we just need to take these kind of ideas and fucking tell people about it.
Right.
Well,
And
I
that's the
mean,
other thing.
but even for example, like again, going back to UBI, well, if people could just afford food, they just would go buy it. Then they don't really need to.
Yeah.
It's like
I
people
mean,
buy the food.
awareness itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people can
Curative.
buy the. It's like farmers, they're losing money because the food can't be sold. They don't, there's nobody to sell it to. Well, it's like, well, if people could just buy the food and the farmers could sell it, the farmers would make the money. Farmers would make money, and the people could buy the food. It's like everybody wins.
But again, like I feel
And
that
prices
like
go
this
up.
just
Yeah.
shows that like look, we're living in freaking 2020. Like I was looking forward to the year that we'd have like flying cars and like spaceships and like all this like technological marvels, and here we are and people are in food lines. Like give me a break. Like where the hell is that world of tomorrow where like you'd
Okay,
have
but
3D printers building you your house,
tell me the world of tomorrow. Tell
World
me
of
your
tomorrow.
vision.
It's
Tell me your imagination of like
There
how
is
you
no
want us to
tomorrow.
be.
like you could like transport molecularly or something like that. You could like take a vacation to like Mars or something in like a spacesuit. You could just like have a have a what is it, like a 3D printer print you out your food, print you up like, I don't know, you need a glove or something, you need clothes, you could print your own clothes. Like like that's the world of tomorrow. You want to go to a friend's house, you can just like hop in like a molecular transporter and it could just like boom, you're just
So
there.
at this
Are
rate,
they
at
like
this rate,
like
at this rate, do you think this is possible within, let's say, 100 years?
I don't know. I mean, I think if we had a Yang-like president like 50, 100 years ago, or like 50 years ago, let's see, we'd be closer. We wouldn't be that close, but we'd be closer. But
Yang
like
wouldn't have
all this,
existed 50 years ago, though. That's the problem.
well,
because of,
like if we had
technological
some
advances.
intelligent, really scientifically minded
I mean,
people in
Faye,
politics,
look at Germany, look at China
Right.
and other places, across the sea or whatever. It's like they have these technologies of tomorrow, and we claim to be the greatest, and we're the ones falling behind.
Okay, I think we've already established, like, as collectively, like, Americans are like, wait, we were lied to,
Yeah.
right? Like we had this image, we
Right.
were lied to, and it's not in alignment with reality. And I think
Yeah,
we're
we were
waking
mind fucked. Yeah.
and you're right,
Right.
though. There are other places that have these technologies, right? So
Japan,
in my
that's a
mind,
big one.
but in my mind, I'm like, why don't we share these
Oh yeah, I
resources?
forgot about Japan. Yeah.
Like
Right.
we need to share these ideas, but part of the problem behind this is everyone's like, oh, you like my idea? You think this is great for your system?
Mammoth meat that I like hunted, and then
What
all of
are
a
we
sudden,
talking about here?
okay, hang on, I get my point. And then all of a sudden, someone created fire, and like fire warmed everyone up at the same time. But there was one caveman saying fire was communism, and we should stay away from it because it's warming us all up, and that's communism. People should only be warmed up like one person at a time. We should go back to rubbing each other and creating friction because that's one, favor for another favor. And that's not communism like this fire is. That's warming everybody up together as like one group. You know, they would be that stupid. Like that. You get it, Izzy? You get what
That
I'm
is quite interesting analogy there.
right? Yeah, but I'm just saying like creating like whatever, but like creating friction. But I'm just saying it's so dumb that we anything we don't people don't understand. You can't just call that communism. Just
So
because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's communism or
with
socialism.
when you
Well,
say
it's good for
this,
people. It's socialism.
when you guys
That's-
say this though, what comes to my mind is like if we find sources of inevitable human needs solutions such as the fire, right? This is something we should share the knowledge on how to do, right? And so that we can all have it on our own timeline. But not just that, but like you know, so we learned fire. Well, that's one inevitable human need for warmth, but why don't we also now move on to the next thing, right? If
Right.
we hyper
Yeah.
focus on one achievement, and once we've
You gotta
shared that
evolve.
like
You gotta keep
knowledge,
evolving.
then you go to the next thing,
Right,
right?
right. Well, that's what you saw with like people who supported Trump who switched over to Yang, because at least Yang gave Trump credit of like identifying the problems. So I see the people who are still supporting Trump after Yang presents himself is like, you're still stuck on being angry at the problems. You don't really want the problem solved. You just want something to be pissed off about. It's like the next step is solving these problems.
But why are they
instead of
pissed off is the question, right? Like we need
No, they have
to
every right to be pissed off.
well, like, you know, if the person is mad at the fire, you know, you got to look at that with gentle curiosity. Like, what is it
I
that's
was
really
pissed off
making you
too.
so angry about this fire, you know? And once you can make them understand why they're like there's this need for this fire and that maybe their fears
Okay,
can
fire
be
burns things down, right? Fire hurts you if you put your hand in there. They just don't understand that that's not the only function. Like, it only hurts you if you're mismanaging it. If you're not mismanaging it and you're not abusing it, it's not going to hurt you. But they don't understand that. They just think it hurts you no matter what.
well,
Like Frankenstein,
as-
fire bad,
but-
fire bad. No, it's only
Okay,
like,
I know
you
where this
know.
is going. It's the same as like when there are those who are skeptic of the sun because the sun also you know, it would like even though it gives you light, it also gives you sunburn. Then you have those who say they're afraid of dogs because they got bitten once. You know, it's not because they
Right.
hate a dog or whatever. And then you come to like the fire, whatever. Like you say, you know it can burn you even though it gives you warmth and stuff. And like, you know, I guess like with cash relief or whatever or UBI, they probably argue they have it a negative mindset because maybe they were
Inflation.
undercut by these people at the top, like when they got their money back and they had to pay it back in taxes or something, you know, which is pretty screwed up. I mean, and they have done that. Like that's the data shows. Thing about it is like number one, we definitely need to reshape these systems we have to work for us because they're not working for us. They're working for those at the top, and everything is outdated, especially the GDP. Once we get that up to date, and it doesn't, and these sorts of solutions are extremely practical. We're not talking flying cars here. Like there's
Right.
like, they have history, man. Especially like UBI, which is pretty upsetting in itself because you know this is known and yet it's not brought up that much.
We've had whole generations of people cheated out of their future and out of their happiness because Thomas Paine came up with this idea since the beginning of the country. Now, just imagine if like your grandparents had UBI and your parents had UBI and then you had UBI. How many generations of human beings were cheated out of their potential and their freedom and their happiness and meeting their basic necessities because that the people who control the narrative want to ignore the things that empower you, and they do it on purpose, and then they bread and circus you up with like cheap crap like food and entertainment and all of this stuff. So you say, "Oh, I got it pretty good. I really don't
People
need
need money in order to survive." That's the whole point behind all this.
Right.
There's
But
somehow they're not
It's
gasping.
a massive
grasping it.
amount of money.
It's divide and conquer. Go ahead, Faye.
Well, I think
This
that
is a
go
this
ahead.
is such a massive amount of money, like $1,000 a month, even not even looking at the $2,000 a month proposals that are now on the table on all of the on all the proposals. If we would just went back to Andrew's $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year for each person of your in your family. And how long is a lifetime? If you live 80 years, that's 80 times $12,000. Can someone do the math real fast? It's
I
like
want to. I got
80
stuck.
times.
I got stuck back on a statement of we didn't have Yang 50 years ago because I'm of an age, and I did
96,000.
yeah, I did the math, and we had the Martin Luther King.
960,000.
We
So
had
over a
Martin.
lifetime, you're being
960,
cheated out of
yeah.
$960,000 per person in your family. That's $1 million. You're missing out on $1 million that could have
Yeah.
been a family home for you. It could have been a family farm. It could have been a family business. It could have been so much. It's like these reparations that we're talking about. How much are reparations going to be? Is it going to be $1 million for each member of your family going back 3 generations, 6 generations back to slavery? So, like this is a massive amount of money that people are missing out on. They're not realizing it because we don't math like Andrew. Andrew's hat, Ariel's hat, and Eric's hat here.
And the culture, right? And the culture is all about like, oh, but you didn't earn it, right? And this is the kind of poison they seeped into people's minds, this divide and conquer, this person is a leech attitude, when they don't realize that inherited wealth, those trust fund babies didn't earn it. They had it through their parents. Like, and a lot of people got it through clout, or they just won a lottery. And all of that is not earning money too, but we don't make that distinction. Yeah.
You know what does disturb me about this is like the disparity of like how much one person can be paid versus another. You know, the people who do the marketing around these successful people make bank off of the success of, you know, who they are sponsoring, if you will, right? But then, you know, if you look at an individual who doesn't have a marketing team around them, you know, they don't make bank because nobody even knows they exist, right? But
Right.
they, you know, put thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars of work into making this person become a well-known figure. And
Right.
then they're going to protect their interests, right? The person who helps them, because they want to like essentially keep feeding from the cash cow, you know?
Not only that, but they don't contribute anything to society. Another person's fame and another person's clout never contributed in a meaningful, tangible way to my life, right? Like, I mean, they're not producing food or...
There are people who are doing good work with their money, and
yeah, I know,
but
like
like,
that, but it's them, like, but
some of them it's a recent
right.
thing, right?
But charity is no excuse of like denying a person justice and then saying, here, I'm going to give you charity after that. Well, if you didn't deny me justice in the first place, I wouldn't have needed your charity. So I don't buy that part, right? So not having a UBI is an excuse for some super rich, super famous person to one day figure maybe I'm going to help this guy. I don't like that. I do not like that.
The other thing,
I feel like I missed what Karen was about to say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Faye, for that.
Yeah.
Because I got stuck on what was said about 50 years ago, we didn't have Yang, and I'll tell you who we did have. 52 years ago, we had Martin Luther King, who in his last book said there should be a basic income. And 38 years ago, I saw Milton Friedman talk at my college, and he was talking about a negative income tax. What is important in the movement is we need to look at why structurally we did not listen to them. What happened? What was the hypnosis? What was the mind control? What was whatever it was that caused us to not to understand what it was that they were saying, and we were held at bay until Yang. Because if we don't figure out why people can't hear this in the middle of a pandemic with 30 million people about to be evicted, when are we ever going to be able to have our country hear this?
What do
I
you
would
think we need to do?
I think we need to not just inform and try to convince, but we
Another
need to
French
go
Revolution.
we need to go
Amen.
directly to what it is that they do, okay? And to talk to people about structure, because the basic income is a structure. It's a structural difference where you have a common platform for everyone to stand on. So we had the recent discussion I saw online about should we pay people's college fees or not? And right away, the people that paid their college loans off that were cheaper, by the way, than the ones that didn't pay it off in many cases, complaining that if we give free college to people, that somehow they didn't earn it. And
It's like if I got screwed, you
we're
have to
not
get screwed
talking
too. This is the
about
kind of mindset.
the resentment of the wounding of the
We're talking about
trauma.
fairness.
Right. We're not talking about the trauma that's happening to people that's causing them the resentment, which is causing the short-sightedness. Because 52 years is a hell of a long time to put us off at bay as to how the structure of our country should be. And we need to know what those structures are, because without it, we are not going to get there. It will go another 50 years.
And I also
What-
want to
there's a lot
follow
of-
up on the.
No, go ahead.
Are you, okay. Well, I just want to quickly follow up. Like what both you, Ariel, and Karen were saying. Speak of like inheritance, because we have those top officials who are like those quote unquote trust fund babies and have so much inheritance, from their rich folks and whatnot, and yet and then they're saying like, oh, they're going to end poverty and tax the rich and stuff. Like even Justin Trudeau like says stuff like that, but their actions didn't back it up. Like instead they were taxing everyday workers, and and which is they're not pulling like a damn price. They're not giving out their earnings, their funds, their gifts, or like I think Pierre Poilievre once said Justin Trudeau didn't give up like his Lamborghini and stuff. They're not doing any of that. Like they're not backing it up, and they should be paying their fair share. Like how are they avoiding taxes? How are they able to like still undercut us and like still make all this money essentially off of our struggles? And like the Jeff Bezos, like the and it's not, and again, it's not just Republicans. It's like it's it's both parties, both people at the top, part of the establishment. It's like we gotta hold them. We gotta like somehow
Accountable. There's no accountability. There's zero accountability.
There's none. Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah.
What's happened is literally we cannot be whistleblowers. This is criminal. What's happening? Like that's just hands down. This is like there's fraud.
Oh, it is.
And we can't be. It's this vicious cycle. We can't be whistleblowers because we don't have a UBI, right? Because if we had a UBI and we whistleblew,
if it was us, if we did any of these things, they would throw us in prison and
a long time.
They would lock us up in prison, throw away the key, or worse. Like,
but they have this immunity.
Well, I think that the matter of things happening generationally, passing the wealth or passing the poverty from one generation to another is what really upsets people, because now it's well beyond personal responsibility, right? This is a structural issue that has to be fixed outside of the personal realm. And so, for some people to just land in the lap of luxury because they happen to be born in a certain situation makes people feel very, very they feel that we live in an unjust society, which is really what it's all about. It's all about trying to somehow create the circumstances that make people feel that they have a chance to really succeed and thrive. Eric, were you going to respond to Karen's? Can we let Eric respond to Karen's discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Karen's pointing about really asking the very important question, which is why has this movement stalled, right? Because why has it that since Thomas Paine, since Dr. King, since Milton Friedman, why have all these influential figures called for something like this? and yet it hasn't happened. And I've been thinking
And
about that.
I just like that Martin Luther King was a reverend and was a man of high spiritual, respectability. People respected him for his, not only his, his thought and his mind, but also for his spirit and his heart. So I think you're the perfect person to talk to this, Eric.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I think, and well, I have a lot of thoughts as to why that is. I think first of all, there's always the fear among the, because again, as some people pointed out, there's like the what do they call it, the fund babies, or what's the
Trust
term
fund
you use?
babies.
Trust fund, yeah, trust
Trust
fund
fund
babies.
babies.
And the elites, and there's a fear that if we have this basic income, then people are not going to want to, like the people who are at the top, they have others doing things for them. So there's a fear that if we give everybody this money, then nobody's gonna, like, there's no wage slavery, so there's no leverage to get people to get the people in power. The people in power do not have the leverage to get the people without power to do stuff they want to get done.
Which is kind of crazy that.
So they're basically afraid of flattening that pyramid.
We got to
Right, because
ask who
They
benefits.
want to have a pyramid of people who will
Right.
work for them.
All the money. Right.
Who
Exactly. Well,
benefits
that's
from
the
this?
thing. That's the thing. It's like if I'm not your only source of sustenance, I can't force you to help me or do something for me. So I'm going to make sure that the only way that you can survive or you can get sustenance is through me. So that way that'll make my life easier.
Yeah, we have to ask who
Right.
benefits from the things being the way that they are, and we're going to have to be pretty blunt.
I mean,
about
look at Trump. He has
Yeah, we
such
need
a
more
sense of
bluntness. We definitely need
entitlement.
more bluntness.
You know, the sense of entitlement among these people is astronomical. They keep saying like, "Oh, you people who hardly have money, you have such a sense of entitlement." A man who is golfing right now and who hardly has anything on his schedule wants to keep a job that he has no interest in even doing. He just wants to keep the job for the title and the prestige while he's not doing it. That's the sense of entitlement.
Just trying to hog it all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Glory hogs. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
Well, that's the other point, which is, and some people are talking about the structural injustice, and I've been kind of lately, I've been doing a lot of research on investing, right, and like trying to reinvest my funds, and because that's the key to being wealthy is the passive income, is to have your money work for you. See, that's how the people, the people who are wealthy, they don't make money from working, they make money from
That language, right? The passive income. The passive income language says, I am smart because I understand this special thing. Oh, the passive income. But the passive income is not passive for the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, making the corporations run and making that money for the passive income that you're about to invest. So
right,
it's like an interesting way of whitewashing, what is really happening. It's like slavery income. Why don't we call it that?
It's BS.
I got an idea.
It's yeah.
I got an idea. How about this? Like maybe we could be like that one episode with Stewie and Brian where they made this bet and Brian lost, and Stewie's like yeah, so I hope you'll pay me, and then like the next day Stewie comes in asking Brian like, oh, so do you have my money? And he's like, and Brian's like, oh yeah, sorry, I don't have right now. I'll get to it. And then he didn't, and weeks pass, and then Stewie comes back like, hey, do you have my money? And then Brian's like, no, I don't. And then Stewie just straight beat his ass, and then he kept on doing it until Brian finally took him to the bank. And I feel like that's what these people are doing to us at the top. They're just saying they're making these promises saying like, oh,
stupid excuses
for favors, and then they like, hey, can you borrow me this amount? And I mean, we know people like that personally who like borrow stuff from us and they don't give it back. And now we got people at the top like that. And then we're coming to them like, hey, you got my money? And they're like,
the people at the top are like maybe The people at the top are like maybe the landowners,
So
right?
maybe
The
we should
people
do
who
like
are
a
who
full
say, "Well, I
split.
have this property, and my tenant,
Right, yeah.
I invest in
It-
property,
It's
and then my
it's
money is
not
making money
through.
for me." But actually, it's your
It's
tenant
like
that is
their money is
hustling
having
out there. Your
their
tenant is making money for you.
right. Their money is having money babies. It's like it's just like another stealthy form.
Well,
Like
that's what I'm
even
trying to
e-
actually go at.
right,
I'm
even in the
trying to
deep
go after the
south.
fact that they always say the money is making the money, but actually it's other people who are enslaved to them
Right.
that is making
Like
that money.
even even if you were a slave in the deep south, at least you got like your housing and your food covered. Now it's even worse. Can you imagine how bad that is? That like at least slaves had shelter and food. Now wage slaves, you may have it, you may not.
It's working
Well,
It's just
homeless.
mind-boggling.
When I
Well, I
did
want to add to
Lyft,
that. I want to add to that, Faye, because in a way, basic UBI kind of makes it so that everybody, in a way, everybody has passive income, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of, I
Mhm.
think that kind of bothers people. Maybe at the top, it's like, well, I have
That's how it's a little different. Yeah,
Social
because that's-
inheritance
because everybody gets it.
and
Yep,
and social. Go ahead.
sorry, Karen, what did you say?
You have social inheritance too. In other words, you would have a certain amount of inherited commons, situation right off the bat that would give you a stake in, something besides where we're at, that this level of extrication of your work without compensation already is a problem for slave wage, already for people who are knocked out of the slave wage arrangement. But it's also for caregivers, which is kind of my number one thing, of the fact that 2 out of 3 of people in poverty above a certain age are women because they did care for people and were not compensated in any
So-
way.
this makes me think of a story when I drove for Lyft. Okay, so there was this woman who was with someone who with special needs. They couldn't take care of themselves. I don't know the full story behind it, but anyway, so she lived out of a tent. And she was taking care of this person trying to work a job where she literally took care of that other person's needs. And they lived in a tent. And so the person working literally could not meet their basic needs while meeting the basic needs of another human being. That blew my mind. That we should never live in a society where that is the case. Never.
That is the case. And it's very common. And I have one podcast show I did on precariat caregiving where people are forced into caregiving just to have a roof over their head, but then they can't leave or they can't change the situation or the person dies and they're destitute again. We have arrangements that are, I call them unholy alliances, where they're just very one-sided situations. It's not really particularly the person who needs the care's fault. It's just the circumstances of where we're at right now, because we take one extremely common human need of taking care of kids, elders, and disabled, and we completely impoverish them and do not provide them any kind of provision at all. And so when people talk about the basic income, they talk about, this is one of the heavy cases, man. This is one of the ones that comes up right to the top about supporting caregivers. But I guarantee you the other part of this is, if you have a whole slew of people who do this very, very expensive care, if you had to replace it, and you build on top of that, that means your healthcare workers are not being paid enough. That means your nursing care workers are not being paid enough, because you have a slave community right there.
Right.
And we know
it
they're not
depresses
getting
the
paid enough
wages
because
of everyone else. Yeah.
we know for sure they're not getting
Yeah.
paid enough because we have to bring people from the Philippines all the time or from other places to bulk up the number in our country.
What we're facing right now is that who's going to go into healthcare? Who's going to get an education to go into healthcare to risk themselves for COVID for a salary like that? We have got a healthcare crisis coming beyond just COVID. We're burning out our healthcare workers. We're burning out our caregivers, and they won't be there and they won't do the job. And we won't be able to afford to take on all those people. That's $500 billion worth of care in the United States done for free right now.
Yeah, like Ariel was saying, it's
Right.
absolutely
And
disgusting.
yep. And Thomas Massey, who's like one of these Congress members from Kentucky, he's like putting up there universal basic income is streamlined socialism, not enlightened libertarianism. And I called him out on that. That's so gross. And like, I wonder where Thomas Massey, if he grew up in poverty or had people helping him or had parents who are rich and he's doing all this. You see, like, this is the kind of mindset we have at the top. And then when I said something about him and I said that he's a corporatist, not a libertarian, there's another guy coming that he's like, I like UBI, but this doesn't help. The free market is wonderful. We should do everything to make it freer, and I would work with him on that. But he likes, and then I said, people in food lines when farmers are throwing out food doesn't help either. For Massey to say something like this is extremely inappropriate and offensive. That's what I
Just ask
said.
him, like, have you seen the
Well-
food lines? Have you seen the
Right, exactly. And it's like
right
oh,
there.
it's like hang on. We have to police the words coming out of our mouth with these people who probably live in a mansion, but they don't care about people who are standing in food lines.
No, they have no
I
remorse.
think that is appropriate. They have no remorse. It's like, look, if somebody is physically and mentally suffering, that takes precedence over your feelings when you're living in a mansion, my friend.
I have a problem with the term
Well,
stimulus.
I had kind of derailed Eric.
Oh, go ahead.
I had
Eric.
kind of derailed Eric because he was telling us about
Right.
how he was going to try to learn about investing, which would bring him into this other group, becoming an investor.
Yeah,
And what have you been learning from about that?
well, I think that, yeah, like I was saying, that if you kind of had to, well, there's different ways. It's kind of like identifying the problem. It's like, okay, what is the political inertia, right? So it's like if we can identify the problem, then maybe we can identify the solution. So, and I know some people are talking about, like, yeah, the structural injustices and, like, full entitlement and all that. And I think one thing we know is that like, one thing I've been learning is people who do investing, they figure out how to either never have or to minimize a taxable event. So, like, for example, why does Tiger Woods have a foundation? Why do all these people have a foundation, right? LeBron James. Well, it's like, well, is it for charity? In a sense, yes, but the real reason is that they could give, basically, like, whatever assets they could donate to their foundation, and it wouldn't get taxed, and they would get a tax break. So basically, it's just a way of, it's a way of protecting your wealth, and so it all comes down to.
And then they can take those. They can take those donations and spend it, but call it a donation when they donate again to somebody else and receive prestige and receive benefits from those donations that they make without being taxed again.
Right, and they also often donate to causes, nonprofit causes that ultimately also help themselves. Like, for example, even Elon Musk. So he has a foundation, and that foundation, I think donated money to, like, battery, green energy research. Well, who does that help? Yeah. But I mean, that's just the way we can't really. That's just the way the game is played. I mean, if anybody in their shoes would do the same things, like, well, how do I keep my wealth? How do I maximize my wealth and minimize my taxable event? And so, in a way, that's why UBI is a good solution, because, like, the wealth is being created. Like, the wealth is out there. Like, the value is being created. Right.
The other
So we
thing,
know-
Eric, the
Sorry?
other thing is, like, just going off of what you said, the other thing is that people, especially during these times, are, like, forced to make hard choices. Like, like, first off is like, okay, how am I going to budget with little that I have? Or, am I going to pay my bills, or am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Like, how, like, should I, like, they're giving themselves these restrictions, these ultimatums, because of the hand they were dealt, and how and how scarce everything is, and they shouldn't have to live like that. It pushes the stress and depression, anxiety, or whatever through the roof for everybody, and that leads to more disparity, discrimination, division, all sorts of stuff, and even police brutality, and like with Karen, you got people going to the healthcare business, and like trying to, with these minimal salaries that aren't enough to like put their lives on the line, yeah, and all sort of stuff, and they themselves are barely making ends meet, working paycheck to paycheck, and especially like when they like sign up for these they're essentially like signing a contract with these, all these like these current these resources, and like any sort of money assistance they're receiving. It's like, okay, here's your money, now you owe me. But with UBI, you don't owe anyone a damn thing, because it's your money, and it's putting powers back to the hands of the people, or at least cash relief. But it's like nowadays, it's like everything is so conditional and stipulative, and it's like you got to pay it back at some point, and that's not how, and that's not how anyone should live. I mean, that does make people very distrusting of who's in charge and who they're relying on and stuff. Not just like with the government or whatever, but even like close to home, like with your local organizations or your families and friends. It's like, because you have all these people who are exploiting others, and they know like your about your situation, and they try to use that to their advantage, and you can't like rebel against them because you have no other options. We need to give people more options. So UBI is like the first step to that, or at least some form or another. Otherwise, like people are like back to making those harsh choices.
But okay, let's go back to the whole fire and like warmth thing. Okay, so what we have created, right, is the system of like I will work for you, and then you'll give me food. Is what I think the example was. Now we're switching from I'll work for you, now give me your food, to oh, I still need that food, and you're no longer like, I'm no longer helping you. So like, how do we have that conversation explaining, or how do we like figure out a new system for the food? Because like that need never went away, right? These inevitable needs didn't go away. How do we have that conversation about like, okay, so this exists now in our reality, and it's really helpful, and we should definitely keep doing this. Now what? Like I don't know how we can have that conversation.
Well, I think this goes back to like how UBI is actually it's a market correction. So it's like, in a way, it's like capitalism works in many ways. Okay, it has worked in many ways, right? But then there are some holes, right? And for example, caretakers, they fall through the cracks. The people in poverty, they fall through the cracks. The people that are not able to, for whatever reason, gain wealth, they fall through the cracks, right? So, we have a lot of wealth that is being created with capitalism, but then we know that a lot of wealth is being, it's not circulating back into the economy because, again, you have all the wealth and all the money. Like, if you're wealthy, you don't let the money go back to the government, right? You don't let the money go back to the people. You want to keep your wealth. I mean, any rational person who is becoming wealthy, they want to keep their wealth.
Eric, I got a couple of questions about taxes. From your perspective, there's the VAT tax that Andrew Yang talked about. There's the land value tax that's also been talked about. how do you feel the dynamics are in that money class with those two things? A lot of people say the VAT tax will just go right back to the consumer, for an example.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing with a value-added tax is that's why I think people are like you talked about the land tax, the wealth tax, right? Value-added tax, and I think the value-added tax it's kind of and that I think it works in that's like everywhere where value is being created, right? Then you're kind of taxing. So and then that money tax is going to the people. So you're kind of creating a virtuous cycle. So the wealth that's created is going back to the people, right? It's like because think about it, the idea of value added. It's like okay, I'm selling some, it's like it goes up the supply chain, right? So it's like okay, this product, this metal that's becoming this some like okay, I ship metal to Tesla. Tesla's gonna make that more valuable, right? And it's going to create more wealth. So, in that sense, I think that works because then you're really capturing the increased value of all the things that's created, right? And then you're sharing that among everybody.
I have
Now,
another. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and then with the land and wealth tax, I think that I think that in a way you're I'm not quite. I haven't thought super deeply about that, but I do suspect that people are going to find a way to circumvent. Like for example, if you try to like Joe Biden's going to try to increase taxes for people making $400,000. Well, there's a many ways. If you own your own company, you would never pay. Then you just be like, okay, what can I do to make sure that I don't make a $400,000? And I was like, okay, instead of making $1 million, I'll make 300,000. My wife makes 300,000. My son makes 300,000. There's
Keep
always
it in the family.
you gotta keep it in the family. So I think
that explains nepotism quite well there. Just cut them all in, and then that way you'll at least eliminate the taxes. So how about that?
Something that I
Eric,
looked into. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Karen.
It's okay, Karen. You guys finish this conversation first. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So something I thought about before I kind of got involved in the Yang movement was the fact that we have the quantitative easing, which goes to the banks, and it was $80 billion a month during the 2008 post the 2008 event, and then currently we have quantitative easing infinity, which I sort of did a back of the envelope math. Would be a couple of $100 a piece per American if it was applied to a basic income. And I've been a little bit like, why is basic income people not talking about quantitative easing for the people and not the banks? The spigot where the money coming out for the people. Because it's right there. It's right there, and it's not something that could be avoided or any of the machinations of the rich could. I call it richcraft.
well, I think I think this is why we have such a middleman problem. Banks and the people who provide people loans, it's like I never agreed to make these people middlemen for me and my money. The pure source of money just comes from the Fed and the government and all that stuff. Whoever voted, did we ever vote on banks to be middlemen? Who voted on these people to become middlemen? If it's a government of, by, and for the people, we never voted for these middlemen.
But the
like
problem with the banks in general is
started in Britain, I think.
Like the fact that debt or money is debt, right? That's the big problem, right? I think that's why we don't middleman, because literally they're like, you still owe me just because I gave you money, right? Like some countries or some religions thinks that's unethical. I mean, think about it. Like, is that ethical just because I have money?
And of course, it's unethical because the middleman gets perks that you don't get. And they get them for no reason other than they're the middleman.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I want to touch upon the middleman, the bank. I really want to touch upon the quantitative easing and the it was zero interest. And I think that really explains why the stock market is like why Wall Street is up and why Main Street is not. Because basically you have universal basic income for the asset, because they buy up all the government securities and buy up every, basically the money. Okay, let's talk about the interest rates for a second. Okay, interest rates are low, right? So that means if you can have access, but who has access? Like you talk about the middleman, but who has access to those loans, right? If you have capital, if you have assets, you have access to those loans, right? So again, now you have cheap money. Okay, so if I have assets, if I'm in the, if I can borrow easily, right? I have easy access to capital. Well, what would I do? I would borrow a lot of money. I would, like, for example, like buy up a lot of real estate. Like that's what they don't get free money in terms of, that's how the wealth, the asset class, their free money doesn't come from necessarily free money. They don't, they just, like, basically it's very low, zero to low interest loans. So, Jared Kushner, he got a
It's called
$500 million
low
loan.
interest loans.
Yeah, low interest. Yeah, it's a loan.
But a
I
loan
mean,
is money. This is what people don't understand.
right. I mean, if
That's
all of
what
us
Faye
here,
is talking about, is that, yeah.
yeah, sorry, finish your thought.
I'm going to let you explain it.
No, just saying that. Think about it.
Well,
Like, if all of us
what Faye was talking about,
if all of us were like Jared Kushner, we all had access to $500 million, very low interest loans. I think we could all pretty much invest it in the, we could quote make that money work for us, right? I mean, it's like we would buy about. What would you
Right.
do?
Well,
And it's
well,
like
it's an
what would
old
you do?
a baseball term. It's like they're starting on third base, right? And then they're
Right,
like, oh, there must be something wrong with you because you didn't start on third base. You started on first base, and that's a merit thing.
Well,
It's not a merit thing.
they might not have ever been turned down for a loan because of bad credit. They might not have had, denials of just access to this money because
So,
it's never
yes.
even entered their realm of awareness that people get denied. And they probably might not even comprehend why they got denied, and so what worked for them just doesn't it's not the same.
right, and that's what I'm saying is that
This is how the classes are maintained
and
through our banking system. They're not just middlemen. They're like the banks are not just middlemen. They're like they're the gatekeepers, as we often talk about gatekeepers here, and they decide who gets the money and who doesn't get the money based on what they consider respectability.
Yeah.
Right? Respectability
nobody
includes
voted on
measurements
this.
like whether or not you. Well, no, we didn't. But somehow it's been ingrained in our systems since well before the British. I think the British into this and sent it all around the world. But basically, once the money that the bankers loan out creates most of the money in our country because of the fractional reserve system, right? They're creating 10 times the amount of money that is initially injected into the system. And that's what we allow them to do. So the feds create 1/10, and then they create another explosion of another 10 times whatever is put in.
Well,
And so,
yeah. So
when they lend out this money, right, what that happens is they choose who is going to get it based on has already got money, and that is generally a white person, a male person, somebody who already owns money, right, a wealthy person. And so it biases the money towards people who are corporations.
Right,
it's a feedback loop, but also not only that is the idea of the money being debt is because in order to create the money, somebody has to accept the money and then also accept the responsibility of paying back a small percentage, right? But that percentage is never created in our money system. So it has to be that at some point they pass that percentage along to somebody else who now owes that, and it's just like one of those money games, 3-card monies, where you can't find who's going to end up with all of that extra interest that was never created. Somebody's going to end up with it, and you hope it's a Trump, right? What happens is if Trump loses all of his money, he goes bankrupt, and he declares bankruptcy, but he can go out again and borrow more money. He just gets more free money.
Right.
Whereas if Faye one time doesn't
game.
pay, some sort of credit card or doesn't pay something on her home or something like that, she gets a big ding on her. And if a poor person ends up with that little bit of debt that they can't pay back, she's ruined. She gets a terrible credit. It can get out a business loan, and it just goes downhill. Can't even get a home. Can't get a mortgage. So the
Right.
system is absolutely rigged
Well,
against us. And
well, it
my
remind
area.
if you guys know anything about like computer programming and coding, like there are people who can go into the back end of like softwares and like things like that, which other people don't have the admin codes to get into the back end. It reminds me of the Wreck-It Ralph movie where this guy went into the back code system and he made someone into a glitch. So they were like,
Failing is a small enough percentage of society. They can always just say, "Oh, there's something wrong with these people that allowed," But now that we're massively failing all across the board, in fact, a lot of
Right.
small businesses are failing, and this is something that Eric was saying he's been noticing lately. That there's a lot of businesses that are also failing now. Lots of corporations. Eric, did you want to pick up on that? Because I remember you saying this is an interesting topic for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, I went to go dry clean like clothes, and there are 3 dry cleaners, like small businesses in my area that closed. Yeah, the one that so that's
Despite the Small Business Administration loans that have been approved as part of our stimulus package, these small
right, but
businesses are not taking yeah. Go ahead.
that was a one time, one time. That was like, how long ago was that? And so the one lady was so heartbreaking. She's been there, I don't know, a long time, 20 years or so. And she's like, yes. I was like, going in, like, oh, I was like saying hello, and she was really sad, and yeah, and she was like, yeah, well, we just don't have money to pay the rent. And so, I was asking her, are you able to get PPP? She's like, yeah, we did, but that was one time. That was a while back. So, that's kind of like a lot of businesses on Main Street. Now, if you're in Wall Street, you have all the money from the quantitative easing and the little zero interest. And so all these people, they can, they're trying to figure out where to park their money. So they're going to put their money on Wall Street. And so all these companies on Wall Street, a lot of them are very well capitalized. And so you have, what we have happening is the asset inflation. So everything that's an asset just costs more and more and more. And then meanwhile, what about the average person? Right? So that's just the reality, and that's why the inequality is getting greater and greater. Because basically, what you have is just UBI for the wealthy, and
I mean, it's a rigged game. I mean, there's no way. If rule number 1 is I win and rule number 2 is you lose, you're not winning that game. I mean, you're losing is written into the rules, right? I mean that's that. There's no thing. So then everybody says like, oh, you're just not trying hard enough. It's written into the rules, dummy. Like I have no patience for it anymore. Yeah.
Eric, I have a question about asset inflation when there's not really a basis for the value. That sounds like a bubble, and that sounds like a crash. Do you view it that way?
yeah, I definitely think it's a bubble. I mean, all bubbles are gonna pop, right? So, I mean, the way that I think that the Fed see it, it's like, well, we got to we have to prop up the stock market. We had to prop up the equity. Like, we can't, because we can't let the wealthy like crash. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Nobody can predict. No, like, people are getting evicted. Well, right now, like, people getting evicted, this is like the best opportunity for people with money, because they're like, great. People losing house, like, if I have money, I'm looking at this like, man, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. People get evicted, people are getting their houses foreclosed. This is my time to, like, I'm gonna buy up a lot of assets. And that's an opportunity.
But how do you convince someone like Jeff Bezos that doing something like that is really detrimental to the people?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, okay, so like if you have all this money and you've acquired everybody's things, and then everything is now available on the market, and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna buy all this shit up, right? But like they have a disconnect of like the humans that like reside in what they just bought, or like the dreams, and like how do you communicate to someone so disconnected the meaning of their purchases.
Well, in a way, actually, that's why a lot of everybody's calling for the stimulus, for another round of stimulus, because they're like, hey, in order to get the machine going, it's almost like we have to another round of stimulus so people can spend money. So that's why everybody on both sides are like stimulus, stimulus, stimulus. And if you think about it, stimulus is basically like a very short-term UBI. They want they want there's like, okay, wow, things are so bad. Basically, everyone, like, we need to pass like a one-time UBI, basically, right? I mean, that's what stimulus is, right? $1,200 plus other things. I mean, that's why they want to have this. That's what they want to have
pretty bad.
the stimulus.
But the word
Because they do. Mhm.
in the word
Go ahead.
stimulus is just I object to the use of that word, because that means, are the Republicans really going to be moved to do anything about that when they've got the stock market numbers so high that why would you want another stimulus? Because that's not a stimulus for people. That's a stimulus for the stock market. That's a stimulus for the asset class. It's not a stimulus for us if it's a one-time spending thing and we're now not able to do anything in terms of demand side. So economics 101 is supply and demand, and they listened to Milton Friedman about supply side economics, but they ignored what he said about demand side economics of a negative income tax in his case. How long is this tulip mania? Is it just going to bubble, and then, oh, nobody can buy the thing that you invested in? That's what I don't get. It's like, sooner or later, this doesn't work. You don't have a demand for the thing that you own. Then the price goes down. It's worth nothing or worth less.
And I think many enlightened, wealthy people do realize this. I mean, but they don't know what to do about it other than go after the regulation also. Like, they can't personally provide the UBI for everyone. That would just make them no longer a wealthy person. And so what is also the same thing that we want. They want the rules changed so that, they can play the game, as well. They like to be at the top of their game and play that game as well as they can. But we have to change the game so that the one they're playing is more, is going to benefit everybody and not just them. And I've heard a lot of very wealthy people
Right.
come out to do that. Probably Dan Price is the only one that is willing to give up his own personal wealth, to say, okay, I'm going to just give up my wealth to my employees.
Make the game humane.
But like,
because,
Microsoft, like, very wealthy people have come out in favor of UBI. Elon Musk has, even I think the Microsoft founders and their like fathers of Bill Gates have actually gone into politics and told the legislators, hey, we need more taxes, right? A lot of people have actually argued, wealthy people have argued for more taxes on themselves because it's a matter of fairness again. It's like, well, it's not going to be just me, it's going to be everybody of my class doing the same thing.
Well, then
Go ahead,
where are we
Ariel.
being held up at? Where's the block? Who's holding the key to this?
the people who make the laws. So it's
Well, I
like
think there's-
that's the only thing.
Well, the interesting thing is that
there are
speaking of the law,
there are actually three classes. So there's the poor, and then there's the middle class, and then there's the wealthy. And we often, attack the wealthy. We often attack the poor. And the middle class is the holy grail. These are the moral people, the good people of the world. But true classism knows that the middle class exists, so that they can be terrified of becoming poor and hope that they become rich, right? The middle class is there to keep everybody in line, and they're the ones who are clamoring. They're the moral majority that clamors for the system to exist because they can live in the hope
they're
that they will someday
being
and then the fear of ever becoming poor.
Things have just gotten worse and worse, and the middle class is being like it's like erosion. It doesn't happen all at once. So there's this like entropy that the middle class has seen, and that's why you got the whole middle of the country voting for Trump, I think. And that's it. Because if the Democrats go back to normal got us Trump and normal got us the coronavirus. So there's no going back to that. So what the thing
But see,
we
like
had
the wealthy,
that important, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ariel, but like when you talk about like these classes, right? The wealthy is the one that you often go after, right? I hardly ever hear you talk about middle class, but I do hear Jacqueline used to talk about the middle class.
Oh,
She, as a poor, very, very poor person, used to, used to see constantly how the middle class push her down, continue to push her down, and the middle class is where most of us is, and so I think that's the
yeah.
answer
The
to Faye's
sad thing is
question:
that
is that who's
the
keeping it
middle
going?
class.
The middle class.
Right. The middle class is just like what despondent, I think, in a lot of kind of like things, because they're not paying attention. They're too busy, like some of them, with their like Netflix or their or their activity, because by the time they come home from work, they just want to like veg out, some of them, and that's very, very detrimental, because if we don't have
So you're
a
saying they're distracted.
right, they're distracted. If we don't have a nation of critical thinkers, we're basically doomed. And unfortunately, I think that's kind of where we're headed. Because if you don't have the ability for critical thinking, and you're just like a cog in a machine, then we're really not going to get anywhere. It's actually kind of what
So
George
how do you
Carlin
reach
said.
the middle class? How do you reach the
I
middle
think
class?
no I think that there's this opportunity and this crisis that's going on right now, because the only thing that shakes people out of their stupor is that when their cycle is interrupted, and this pandemic has interrupted the cycle, the most we can ever hope for.
And I
Yeah.
want to say this pretty quick, real quickly. If we had people like Jacqueline running the country, we'd most certainly be better off, because it's like,
Right.
she's one of those people, who's no bullshit, and definitely
Right.
action driven, and she doesn't lie or have a filter or anything. But meanwhile, we have a lot of political.
She
That being
understands
said,
mathematics.
that
And
being
that's
said,
where we're really having trouble connecting with the nation, is that we are people who love
And
mathematics
it's
but and
like
data, but it's very difficult to get people to understand what's really happening when you
the
can't
re-
explain what is
and
quantitative easing.
and
You can't
like
explain all
the
these
ignorant part
fancy,
of this nation
mhm.
is the people who are easily emotionally manipulated, and it's kind of funny. It's like because it's all because it's funny, like adults say that like children are like are like go by their emotions, and they're not practical like us, and they get manipulated, but like yeah, but like 80% of older people are manipulated by theater and emotions and outrage and all this stuff. So if you see that little 12-year-old like throwing a tantrum over the candy, don't think that they're that different from you when you watch your favorite politician and you just back them up without doing any research on them at all.
but here's my thing, and I just want to, it's like, and this what's really been bugging me for quite some time, and it's going back to like the volunteer appreciation that Andrew Yang did and stuff. Why wasn't Jacqueline in there? Because she is a critical thinker, and she's definitely put in the work despite her situation, and then definitely speaking for those and similar ones and stuff. And yet um it's like I didn't see her on the panel. I didn't see humanity for saying, oh yeah, like thank you, Jacqueline, for everything you've done and stuff. No, I don't see that at all. And I'm like wait a minute, like you want to talk about humanity first, you want to talk about getting stuff done. Jacqueline S. Holman has that in spades. It's like, she's one of those people who literally, fights for those like me. And but because like she's not out phone bacon, text bacon, or or volunteering for like all these other candidates or whatever, then she shouldn't be acknowledged. Like I think that's just
Yeah,
bullshit,
it's but the thing is, like, she
sorry, I just like
specifically wasn't it's okay, Izzy. I'm just gonna explain for you. She specifically wasn't a volunteer on the Humanity Forward, things like that. But because she has her own problems, but definitely if they can acknowledge, the most like you gotta acknowledge the least among us, the ones that have it like the
yeah,
worst
they
off.
understand the most.
So Right, they understand the most, exactly. So I'm 100% on board with you there. It's just that she specifically wasn't on there. So I know that Andrew Yang spoke directly to Mia, and she's like one of the biggest directors for like this whole podcast. So maybe Mia can get in touch with Yang if she ever can and say like, hey, like we have someone who really puts her heart and soul into this, but she's not really that known. We want to get her some attention and stuff.
I mean, I hope so.
That
I
would
mean,
be
even
important.
you will be
That's
fine,
true.
Ariel. So it's like,
I did get a chance
But as
to
a
speak with
content
him.
creator yourself, Disney,
okay, yeah.
and Ariel and Karen and everybody here at the podcast, Faye and Eric, everybody's got their own podcast these days. And Shale, who holds down this for us so beautifully. I mean, as content creators, none of us have been acknowledged necessarily by Andrew Yang as being important to the changing of the narrative. But that is what we need. We need to change the narrative so
I
that
saw you on
the
the
entire
panel,
middle
Faye, so let's-
class can come along with us. Pardon me?
Yeah.
I saw you on
What
that
did you
voter
say, Izzy?
appreciation panel, Faye. Yeah, I saw you on that voter appreciation panel. So
Oh, I wasn't being appreciated. I was just there to moderate. So, but I mean, but that's
Right.
because I'm volunteering now because I have time, right? As a caregiver who is not
Right.
employed fully, I have some time that I can volunteer, and that's not something that someone like Jacqueline, who is to fight every day for her existence by day trading or doing whatever it is she can find that she can do from her home. You know, she can't just volunteer her time, right? She has to spend her days doing to earn her meager existence. So anyway, it's unfortunate that like Jacqueline is an excellent writer, and so the rest of us are all content creators in different ways. And the contents that we're creating is still important, even if we're not recognized specifically by some special, UBI panel that's going to come and give out awards. But hey, that's something.
Let me just.
Have you guys
Yeah,
thought about maybe having
this is
Table
a
Podcast Award?
this is
We
this
could give
is a
out the award. We could give the recognition.
Hang on. I want to say, I want to say that this is a microcosm in a macrocosm. So because when Andrew was out there in the public eye, he kept on getting ignored by like MSNBC and CNN and all these other people trying to suppress him and ignore him. Now, the ironic thing is like within our own Yang Gang, we have people like Jacqueline who are being ignored within the Yang Gang. So if we want to change things out there in the world, we have to change how we are in this Yang Gang to not ignore people, because I don't want to call people out or anything like that. But like when I was having my interview with Patrick Kagi, I did mention Jacqueline's name, but it wasn't related to some stuff. So she clipped that part out. She edited the part out where I talked about Jacqueline. And then
wow, that's
a
crazy.
few days later,
yes, she also edited parts in my interview as well.
Right,
so
right.
Like, yeah.
And then later I find that my interview and your interview, Izzy, they're not even up on her channel anymore. She said she's redoing her channel. She's recreating her channel now. I believe that. So where are our interviews? I went back to her channel. I couldn't find my interview and I couldn't find your interview. So, I mean, we cannot do this where we complain about how Andrew Yang is treated out there. We can't complain. This is bullshit. We cannot complain how Andrew Yang is treated out there in the public and the media blacked him out when within our own movement, we are doing that.
Yes.
That is not okay. That is bullshit.
You got people in his staff who are literally blocking.
Be specific to Paget, because we certainly don't edit out anybody here at our podcast. Go ahead, Izzy.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying that it's not. But I was hoping I'd see. She said she's creating it, but maybe I'm not saying she did it on purpose or anything like that. But it's kind of bothersome when you put your heart and soul into like talking to someone and trusting someone and thinking like that, and then you just see that they're just nonchalantly treating you like whatever. Like, I don't like that.
Can I interject here?
I say we get together with boys from the Trickle Up, and we try to and we create our own, grassroots, right, award for people who
Yeah.
create great content. How about that? We could do that.
Yeah, go
I mean,
ahead.
Well, I
it's
don't-
Yeah.
within our
don't
power to
need-
recognize each other.
I don't need any of that. I just want to be able, like me and Ariel, like
Just
to
want
get our
people to be
message
real.
across and to, to like help others out there. Cause like, mind you, like when I had my interview with Padgett, like afterwards, Fred the Felon, he actually literally sent me a message saying, hey, I consider you to be one of my heroes. I never got that, but it was due to that interview that Fred and Mark, like they acknowledged me saying like, yeah, this guy, he's definitely talked about a lot now. And it's like, who knows who else is out there who's going through the same stuff. And then if they manage to come across my interview and stuff, they're like, you know what, you're right. And I wanted to tell you, like, this is literally what I'm going through and stuff. But it's like when you try to when you don't like really put that out in the open or whatever, or it's like, and it's not on those big platforms or whatnot. It's like a lot of stories go unheard. Like that's the whole point. Like,
and then you see, and then I defended. I was really mad when YouTube stopped Padgett from live streaming because she did something. They gave a bigger creator like 3 months. No, they give a bigger creator like 5 days to get their live streaming abilities back. And they got rid of it for Padgett for like 3 months. And then Padgett's going like, this is such bullshit.
Yeah.
Just because these people have more clout, they get to get their privileges back and I don't. This is BS. And I was right on her side. But now she unlists my interview that I did with her. And it's like, hang on a second. You don't understand. You're complaining about the stuff that you're doing yourself. It's like that.
Okay, can I interject here a little bit, guys?
Yeah.
I'm happy you guys got that opportunity, right? And I think it's beautiful that you guys had the chance to have an interview with somebody that does have clout, so you have a higher chance of your voice being heard, right? Her clout alone helps your voice a little bit, right? And I can tell there's a lot of hurt behind her unlisting it. Okay, obviously, I would be too, right? You did contribute your time and value. What really gets to me though too is unrelated to that specifically, but there are rumors within the Yang Gang and this like cancel culture thing that happens too. Unrelated to you guys, I'm just saying. But there are people that do get edited out or their videos taken down simply because of that. And not just from rebranding, which is why she did it, right? But like, I mean, think about it. You have the chance and choice to take down, because I got unlisted from somebody's a YouTube, like they did a YouTube interview with me, and some rumors went around about, and next thing you know, I can't find that interview. I think there was maybe 2 that were taken down because of this rumor.
This is not about like our videos being unlisted. This is about like our voice being silenced, because we've had this happen before, not online but also in real life, by those who claim to love and care about us.
Right.
No.
I mean, when it's outside, because for some people, you guys, this movement is like their last refuge. For some people, like this movement is their last refuge, like their last hope. And for that to be done to people in times of peril and in times of like when they're not happy and when they think that they have nobody supporting them or going up to bat with them, that's the part that bothers me. Look, I'm strong. I have a family. I have friends. I have support. Whatever. It's fine. But for the people who don't have that, and for you to be doing that to them, that's when I get disgusted.
I literally have a friend out.
So I had heard about the unlisting, but I had not heard about the actual clipping out of people or discussions about certain things that she did not want to be heard on her channel. So that is really interesting to me, because that says that Padgett is really, ambitious, because she has a career that is based on her image. I mean, she also has she doesn't just do stuff for Yang Gang. She has a regular, and image is absolutely key to that. And so I think this, people, is that we're very image conscious. And it's all about,
cutting out.
how do we,
Yeah, damn right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's how do we move up into this,
this is
mean,
the part that
the upper echelon.
this is the part that this is the part that pisses me off. The part that pisses me off is that I want to be surrounded by people who are authentic, people who when I see them face to face
Yes.
or when I talk to them even online, that it's like, why you gotta lie about things that are obvious. And I see it with my parents too. Like one thing happens in the house, and then they could have like the biggest argument, they can like go crazy, and then they go outside like, hi. It disgusts me. It's like one face for these people, another face
they
for
do
these
it with a
people,
smile on their
another
face.
face
Like,
for those people. You lie about this, you lie about that, then you pretend you didn't lie, and then you pretend about the pretending, and then you have all of these different and it's like, God damn it! I just want to live my life, and I want to be around like people who are just like, oh, tell me the like what are you lying for? It's like if you don't want to hang out with me, if you don't want to help me, if you don't want to like do anything good for me, tell it to my face. Thank you. I'm done. Bye. Don't play these games.
So,
And here's the other thing.
So I would,
like,
I would prefer not to really.
I literally have.
Okay.
Well, like I was just going to say quickly that it's like I have a friend out there who's getting no help whatsoever. She's dying, as am I, and we don't have much time left. And I'm like, I really want to help her. I really want to get her. I want to help myself as well. But the only way for me to do that is to get on a bigger platform that have much, that has bigger voices and so I can like get this message across and get some sort of assistance. And then I even like on Padgett's video, I asked her like, hey, can you share this link of my friend's PayPal and stuff so she could get some help. And then she's telling me that no one's helped her, but you got these random blue hats on Twitter, DMing her, say, hey, can you tell us more about her story? When she's literally telling you in her damn tweets, they're wasting their time and stuff. And I'm sitting here going like, is this really humanity first? Are you kidding me? It's like did it stop when Andrew Yang's campaign stopped? That's what I find just downright disgusting. It's like we're supposed to be better than the ones at the top, those who, those who try to like, try to like flip off the message and stuff. But, and all we delve in our lives, like we're supposed to be better than all that. And we're essentially like, what do you call it? Reverting back to our old ways, essentially. And I'm like, that's literally what I speak of. And I see that shit so many times.
Yeah.
And it's like when it's happening within our own movement, that's what pisses me the fuck off. Because it's like I actually believed in this.
But
man. It's like, so I'm going to hold your ass accountable if you
our
do something.
system, though, our group. So our group, though, the Yang, right? It is of all different classes and all different, social economic groups and all different races and so that's what, and different political ideologies, right? We're not even homogenous in terms of liberal or conservative. We have people from all walks of life, which is what we want. We want that universality. And so that's when we meet something, and I mean, it's okay to call out Padgett a little bit, but I don't want to be talking about her in our show without her being present.
I'm calling
because she may have a defense for some of these things that we don't know about. We're making certain assumptions about her.
I mean, this is
sure, but we have mentioned her name specifically. So I just want to say that I do support Padgett in doing whatever she needs to do in order to, that's best for her life and for her particular situation. But I want to say that let me just finish. Let me just finish my thought. Yeah, but okay. I understand that you guys have some grievances and it's okay to air them occasionally, but maybe not. I don't want to continue talking about her too far in because then we start making it that she can't defend.
It's not about
here.
her.
What I'd like to do though is talk about how. Yeah. So I want to move it now to talk about the group dynamics, which is that, what we have to do in these situations is to lean hard on the grace and forgiveness, okay? Which is part of our 8 moral standards that we want to adhere to as a group. In order for us to all continue doing this together, and we all can recognize that Padgett has done great contributions to our movement as well by being who she is. by being who we are
Yeah,
not gaining
but
subscribers like
I'm
this, right?
I'm just tired of the celebrity culture, and I want more of a humanity first culture than, oh, look at that, a thing.
Okay,
because
I have
yeah.
a question though. Would you be this upset if she gave you a copy
Since
of the
everybody's so
episode?
human and everybody
She gave me a copy of
Well,
what?
okay, I'm just saying, like,
Oh.
would you still be angry if you had your own copy of the original episode? Like,
No, I do, but no, but I'm just saying I do have it, and I remember to make one even like the day I had that interview. But I'm just saying, if you do something like that, at least let the person know, tell them why, tell them like, oh, by the way, I unlisted your video because of this, because it's like,
but then
hey,
she
like
did tell you. So now,
no, she didn't. No, she didn't tell me. One day I went on videos and then I was looking for it and all of a sudden it wasn't there. And I'm like, oh, maybe. And then I said, you know what? Maybe she's doing something. Maybe in a week or two it'll be back up. I got back on there and it wasn't. And then I'm like, okay, well then at least she could have told me, because I could have been telling my friends, look at the video I did, look at the interview I did with her, and I was sharing it with some people, and all of a sudden it was gone.
And for starters, I've dealt with way much worse than Patrick would have, and maybe she and
So am I.
probably, like,
So did
jumped to conclusions with what she did. So let's stop for the last time. This isn't about pageant.
It's just about being a person that sticks to your word and being
Well, yeah.
authentic for
well,
everyone.
I guess,
for everyone.
the
What I'm
reason why
saying is-
asking
okay.
though is to figure out, like, you guys are upset, right? And so if other people are
No, I'm just
YouTubers and
disappointed.
don't want to upset people like you, like, I'm just trying to figure out strategies to avoid that, so we don't even have these kind of conversations.
I'm upset for much bigger reasons than than just one
It
interview.
ties
pageant. It's
into
like
a lot.
way bigger
Yeah,
reasons.
because I've had this happen to me in my life plenty
Well,
of times,
pageant-
where
Iceberg.
people
Come
have,
on.
have not just her. Okay, let's talk about someone else. Ash Sobi. None of you know who Ash Sobi is. This was even before Yang even ran for president. He was this rich Persian guy who like created this tech company or something like that. And then he said he would help me with this project that I had an idea of. And he would be doing this and he would be doing that. All of a sudden, I get all these texts from him saying that he thinks that I'm wasting his time and I'm not worth his time. And like he wants me to make this much money until he helps me. And he usually charges his clients this much. It's about people just all of a sudden they change who they are. They change their personalities. You thought you could trust them. You thought they were helping you. And all of a sudden, just because they have clout and just because they're famous, they think they can treat regular average people like crap. That's what I have a problem with. They can break their promises. They cannot follow through.
Yeah,
But I
there's no
think-
Go ahead,
following
Eric.
through. There's like, and
Well,
it's
I
like that's happening throughout our society. That's why I speak of every time, on these platforms. It's like, and it's like, yeah, it's almost like an epidemic in itself, like some sort of contagion.
Yes.
You got people like you're just not. You were saying like, oh, I'll
Okay,
do
let's
this.
talk about Anthony Scaramucci. Yang had a podcast with Anthony Scaramucci. And before I even knew who Yang was, or Yang even started this entire movement, I went to a thing in USC, and Anthony Scaramucci was there talking about Trump and why he supported Trump, and now he hates Trump. And he gave me his email, and then he's like, "Yeah, kid, I'm gonna help you. I really want to like give you a voice. I really want to do something with you."
No.
And then I wait a month for him to get, and then I send him this email, and I can share that email with all of you. I said, "Anthony, you keep saying how politicians keep making promises and they never follow through their promises, and they say this and they say that." And then I say, "Anthony, you're doing the same exact thing that you're accusing these other people are doing."
Yep.
He sends me,
Okay.
like I'm just saying it's everywhere. People
Well,
not
let
following
me
through.
just-
People,
I
Yeah.
really, really want to interject right here. Okay. As a person who went from just sitting in my truck traveling the US to trying to make systematic changes, okay, there's a lot of moving parts. And when I talk to people, I have every intention of like doing what I can to add value to their lives. I can't follow through with everything I wish I could, right? But I will try and see what is the biggest thing. But some of these things that I've promised, take a while to manifest, especially if it takes like months, 2 months, five months, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, like, I'm overall trying to work on it, right? But my energies are being pulled left and right all the time, consistently.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
not
I know.
the
But,
So,
but,
so
but it's like, but it's
that's
like,
what
but if
these
you
people
can't
are
do it,
going through, though. That's what these people
but
are
if you, I
probably.
know, but if you can't do it, then just say, hey, look, my energies are being pulled, and I have things, and I'm sorry. But they don't even do that. They don't follow through, and then they pretend you don't exist
Well,
when
part
you
of it too.
invested.
Okay, but let me push back on this. Part of it too is that they might be balancing 100 questions or 100 different people. Okay, it's easy for me to forget some of the people I've even talked to. Right? They want my help, or they want to understand how to be used. And sometimes I've just lost track of who I've talked to. Right? And I can't. I just put myself in these other people's shoes that have clout, and I bet you they're balancing just as many, and if they don't write down these people, and if they don't write down these tasks, it's easy to forget. Little reminders are nice.
But then they go
Let
a
me
step
push back the
further,
facts.
and
Like,
then they
it's
call
the
you
story.
entitled.
Because,
Go ahead,
people could call me entitled by forgetting that
Actually, there's a lot more to say on this particular subject here.
It's an
I mean,
epidemic.
I can see us going on about this for a while, and I would like to actually move forward. So let's
let's
lean
move
in
forward.
on the grace and forgiveness.
Yeah, let's
And that's the thing, is in order for us to continue working together with everyone, we have to forgive
but
each
if we
other for
keep- Okay,
our
but Faye, if
flaws,
you keep doing,
some of which
hang
are
on, hang on.
caused by our upbringing
But
or
people
our
can say
class,
the same thing.
but some of which are
hang on.
just
People
personality defects,
people can say the same thing about Trump when he lies, when he says, let's just give grace and forgiveness about him. He probably didn't mean it. He probably wants the best for all of us. Let's just keep like letting him. And then Trump, you know what Trump supporters say? He really didn't mean that. He really didn't want to hurt people like that. Give the guy a break. They did it over and over and over again. And we can just do the same thing. And I don't think that's it. At a certain point,
but
there
Ariel,
has to be accountability.
It
There
does
has to be
help us stick together,
Yeah.
like the MAGA people do.
but Ariel, I think what Faye is trying to say, though, is not so much just forgive like you're describing. I think there's an aspect of patience and forgiveness of the person, and empathy and understanding. Now, but if a person is not following through, it's really based in autonomy, right? You need help, right? And you have a person that you see could meet that criteria of helping you, right? Well, if that person isn't following through, it's on you to find a new mentor, a new assistant, a new whatever.
Yeah, but this is like
There's
an
not enough
epidemic.
free will.
I do. There's nobody. There's zero accountable but good people that I have, because it's happened to me over and over and over again and over. And I think it's part of the culture in general. It's not the specific people that I'm talking about. It's the celebrity culture, people who think they have clout, that are thinking that it's okay to leave people high and dry. And this is what our Congress is doing in this pandemic.
I had
And
And
two.
I'm just saying, if you're not succeeding at the goal that you're asking this person's help from, just give up and move on, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know that, but we're saying that it's just happening with too many people, too many times, and it's a structural, systemic, cultural thing.
And
That's what I think is what you have to say.
I had various people in my community do that to me. Like, I actually had two APS caseworkers who said they were going to find me a better place to live, better housing and stuff. I haven't heard back from them in weeks, and then one of them decided to come to my house or whatever, and my mother's playing host or whatever. And then the moment she mentions that my father had brain cancer, his whole attitude changed, and he was like, "Oh, you need to be in control of your destiny or call up these resources."
And the worst part, let me tell you what the worst part is. They pretend, and then when they need something from you, or they need you to help them, or they need a favor from you, they pretend that it never happened. I never made that promise. I never followed through with it. Why are you being so mean? Why are you being such a jerk? Why aren't you helping me? because and then they're like, don't hold a grudge, don't do this. No, you can't keep doing that. At a certain point, it has to stop. It has to stop. I'm sorry. I'm not your doormat, and I'm not your thing,
but again,
you know?
that's personal. You need to set boundaries with that person. Attacking a person because they haven't followed through with somebody is going to make them not want to help you even more, right? It's going to make them have an aversion
but
more so.
They're not going to help us either way.
Yeah, I
Even
know.
if we're
They're not going to help. Exactly.
Right, well,
There you go. They're not going to help
Again,
us either
there's
way.
a lot more we could probably talk about on this particular topic, but let's move forward and maybe do our closings now because we are at the time that we had originally scheduled. And I want to give Eric a chance to shout out anything that he would like us to know about. Do you want us to listeners to have some way to contact you through social media or any other means?
Well, I wanna acknowledge. Before I say anything, I really want to acknowledge that you know what we unfortunately we do live in a very broken world where we have expectations or people promise us, and I want to really take a time to acknowledge the hurt and the pain because that is very disappointing. That's very discouraging. That's very depressing to feel like you've entrusted your trust unto somebody and to have that trust feel like you're broken. So I really want to take a moment to really acknowledge what's being expressed and I want to leave all the the people personalities aside. I think that's again that there's a lot of hurt, and I think we've all experienced that, and I really think that hopefully that that being a community, we can be like Faye was saying that we have all kinds of people, and people are going to be people, and some people have good intentions, they hurt people, some people have bad intentions, hurt people, and I think that we have to acknowledge that on this side of eternity, we're going to have a lot of brokenness, we're going to have a lot of hurt, and we really have to find a way to help each other and hopefully be agents of healing to each other. Like I can't fix what's been done to you. None of us can do that. But I think I want to at least take a moment to acknowledge that these are things this is not we don't deserve to be treated in the ways that we often are treated. So I really want to take the moment to acknowledge all of our humanity and all of the things that we go through. And yeah, so I want to first and foremost acknowledge those. I think sometimes maybe Paget did something that triggered a lot of the things that we've gone through, or whatever it is. And I think but and hopefully we can really be try to be what can we do is really be there for each other and be and really help each other in the ways that we can help because that's all we can do. So I'm not saying I don't have the answers, but I just want to say that you know what yeah, I do hear you all, and I know that's just not pleasant to have hopes dashed over and over and over again, or have to have trust broken over. And I
Thank
think
you,
that's
Eric. Thank you. And that's what I love. Like when people acknowledge that it's not right, and when people acknowledge just what we're going through, I think that's just step one. Like some people don't even acknowledge. They don't even want to acknowledge. They want to say that we're entitled, that we're the ones that are doing something wrong, that it's not a big deal that this happens to us, even though it happens to us constantly. And I just want to thank you for what you said, Eric.
Yeah,
right.
because
Yeah,
it's not just people who are helping and then people who are being helped. We're both on both sides of that at different times in our lives.
But the other
Yeah.
issue is the guilt tripping. We got to stop the guilt tripping and say, oh, like I understand, like especially during these times, you're not going to always follow through. But like, well, for one, like try to give that person an alternative. But also, like, if someone, if if the person confronts you, whatever, well, don't get all offensive or try to throw it back on them, because that's another issue that we hate. It's like, okay, listen, like,
gaslighting.
Just be like, yeah, I do apologize for that. I should have told you.
You guys,
don't
we were closing out.
How dare you talk to me that way? You know what? You're canceled. You're blocked.
Izzy,
And then go on a smear rage.
Hey, let Izzy have his thing. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
think
just saying we
yes.
were trying to close out is all, and then that seemed like
Oh,
a
yeah.
thing.
Okay,
That's all.
Shale, what
So
do you think about this? It's okay.
it's
All right.
okay. We don't want to reignite the discussion at the moment, but like to, would you like people to find you on Twitter or anything like that, or maybe visit your YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, well, I was doing
ahead.
a streamcast podcast just like this, called I can't taking a break because just a lot of things going on. It's called it's called Everyday Faith. So every day with the DEI, because DEI in Latin stands for God. And we're just talking about we had Faye on there. I'm just talking about the intersection of faith and politics, and the personal. So and yeah, and I also helped start this group called it's also a Yang group. It's called Forward Christians, and it's not just for solely for Christian people, but anybody who is interested in exploring faith and spirituality um, are all welcome to join. And we have a Facebook group, we have a Discord. We play Among Us sometimes,
Nice.
and we're not I think one thing we have to acknowledge that we are all of us are broken, and I think that's what as hurt and broken people, and and we're like a hospital, and in a way we're all patients, and yet we're all doctors. You know, it's like we have to really heal. It's like yes, we're gonna do things. It's like a paradox. Like we're gonna be hurting each other, at the same time we're gonna be healing each other. And so recognizing that we are all
Tell me the name of that Facebook group again.
forward, like
Tell me.
humanity forward,
Uh-huh.
forward Christians. So that's what it's called.
With an S or
And
without the S at the end? Forward
see,
Christian.
let me see. Let me take a look here. I think it's with an S, but let me see. Just double check. Yeah, Forward Christians with an S. Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
So,
Okay.
and everybody can
I'm
hit me,
adding that
and
for
give me
your
an
credit.
invite. Okay, and then yeah, and you can find me on social media. I was Christians for Yang. Now I think I'm Christians for UBI. Twitter handle EC Chen1, or you can find me on Facebook, Eric PS Chen. So yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and to share my 2 cents, and hopefully it was of value to everybody. And I know that everybody contributed value to my life, enrich my life during this. So I want to thank you all.
That's so awesome that you were able to come out today with so many of us having already interacted with you.
Yeah,
Faye,
that's
do you want to go ahead and do your closing?
Sure. Yeah. Hello. My name is Faye Doney, and thank you for coming on. I think it was Faye who actually suggested you, and Twitter DMs, and I was like, well, okay, yeah, we can make that happen. Yeah. So my Twitter handle and Twitch and TikTok is Tisdoney, TISDONEY. I just want to say, like, thank you guys for just like being an awesome team. Like, I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I was literally making cheap ass awards for you guys. So like, I've already started this process. and when I mean cheap, I mean they're cheap, but that's okay. So I mean, I'll eventually need like little addresses so I can send
it's
it
the
to you guys.
thought that counts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the cardboard that I used
Absolutely.
the cardboard I used to paint the back of my truck clouds, I cut that out so it's like authentically got part of my truck on it, kind of thing,
Ooh. Wow, we get a little piece of the historical the conveyance that is moving across the country.
So it's
Tip my
Shale,
math hat to you.
symbolic.
Shale,
That's
when is
awesome.
our
Yeah, that's very nice.
anniversary? When are we going to be at our 1 year?
February 28th. The end of the last day of February.
Oh man, we got to get this ready by February.
Yeah, I was just thinking
In
it's
time for our anniversary.
been a very interesting year, huh? It's been like an epic poem of a year, a really, really long novel of a year.
We
Very
can
long.
make like a whole TV
Yeah.
series off of this year. Okay.
It was a
We're
good
almost
year,
in
though. It was a good year. A
2021,
lot
yeah.
that had to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for
2 minutes.
being here, everybody.
You're welcome.
I was trying to hold down the tech as best I could, so I didn't really participate too much in the discussion. Very good. It was very lively. Also, there
Cool.
wasn't really room for me if I wanted. Great stuff. Eric, one of the disadvantages of our roundtable format is sometimes we don't hear as much from our guests as we would like to. If you're really cool and you have a lot to contribute, I really love your energy. You're really supportive. You're a really healing person. I dig that. And I would love to talk to you more. You're welcome to come back anytime. When someone's been on the show, they're always welcome anytime. They don't have to announce themselves or anything. Come in and you could just be a fly on the wall, or you could participate fully if you want. I always post the schedule on Thursday, so check it out if you're interested. Hope to talk to you again, and thank you for your work, guy.
Thank you everybody for your
See
work.
the text channels on your list. Yeah, on the list of channels there on the Discord, in the text channels, there's a schedule channel, and that's where you can find out on Thursday what's going to be happening over the weekend. Ooh, we lost Faye. Hopefully, she was able to do her closing.
Happens here
Ariel,
and
do
there.
you want to do yours?
Yeah. Before I do my quote, I'm just gonna say for everyone, I'm just gonna say integrity means doing what you said time you said you were gonna do it. That's it.
100%.
Okay. Yeah, that's for everyone. Everyone. Okay. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Ariel's Ariels. So that's ARIELS AERIALS, and youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. That is my YouTube page. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm Faye Ku at Palestine Math on Twitter. People may know me as Palestine Math because of Palestine, Texas. I often go by the the Lone Star Warrior moniker that I use on the Yang Report Live, and so people now associate me with Texas. But I actually have a very strong connection to San Gabriel Valley, so I want to shout out the SGV group over there, the Yang Gang. Who have basically adopted me as one of the mascots. I can't do anything, can't join anything, but I can cheer a lot. So thank you very much, Eric, for adding me to that group. It's been given a lot of support. Like, I love hearing about the beautiful restaurants everybody's going to. Restaurants I can't eat at. Oh my God. If I ever get back to California, it's going to be on. So, all right, very good. Karen, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, my name's Karen Patrick. My podcast is the Careworth Podcast at careworthpodcast.com. I'm my Twitter handle is at careworthcast, and I want to be very thankful to you guys because I'm kind of a newcomer because I had a health setback during when Andrew Yang was running, so I'm kind of a newcomer, and you guys have hooked me in and accepted me, and I really, really appreciate that. And we're going to keep meeting to do that with new people because we want this thing to grow and we want a collective voice that gets us somewhere, right?
Yeah, we're
So
very
thanks
happy
a
to
lot
have
for
you.
that.
You know, make it happen.
Thank you. And I cover caregiving,
Thank you
caregivers at
for
universal basic income too. Go ahead.
Thank you for joining us because we really love having your voice here.
Thank
Lee,
you.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Wait, are you talking to me now?
Yeah, Izzy, do you want to do your closing and talk about your podcast?
Yeah. Well, for starters, I do want to say real quickly. As far as like again, like accountability and fairness. If I were to talk, if I were to say, like, if you were at your lowest point and I walked up to you and said, "Oh, we're all broken, or we're all going through stuff," or "Hey, I'll pray for you," or "I'll, why don't you go get a job or talk to a counselor," or et cetera, et cetera, you'll be pissed at me. You wouldn't like that. So it's like it's like, again, tit for tat. Another thing, like, you want to talk about forgiveness, like I think true forgiveness is like, when, like, if someone does you wrong and you don't, you just like cut them out of your life or whatever. I think that's a true form of forgiveness. Not any of this stuff like when you try to make it like an ultimatum or mandatory. Like this one time, this guy said, "You need to forgive this person or we're no longer going to be friends." That's what he told me. and I also had, you know, people who used to like beat me up in the past just for being different. And because they became Christians, you know, the children of God, or started reciting the Bible, now all of a sudden they're forgiven. Now all of a sudden they get a pass. And I'm like, screw that crap, you know. And then I have, and again, like I understand, like not everyone is going to be able to like follow through or do any certain things, you know, because of like A, B, and C. You know, like I'm in, we're all in the same position. We get that. Here's the thing though, you gotta be respectful. You gotta be, you can't like try to flip it back on the person. Like for instance, you know, there was this one girl. I won't say her name since we know what happened when we brought up Paget or whatever. But it's like she was promising me and my other friend over in South Africa that, oh, she's going to create like this narcissist support group. She's going to fund for helping us out or whatever. And then my friend, she made this one post about how she wished she could talk with Angie Yang. And then out of the blue, this girl decided to message her saying, oh, what do you think Angie Yang is going to do for you? How do you think he's going to get you out? I think I shared it with Ariel one time. And then it's like, that was like a warning. It's like, you don't, if I said that to you, you know, yeah, you'd be pissed at me. Here's another thing she did. It's like, you know, all of a sudden this same girl, like she started saying, oh, you got to call up these organizations, the same organizations that really don't do shit for her. And like, if they did work, she wouldn't be opening herself up like that, or trying to ask for help, or try to like beg for money and stuff, you know. But it's like, you're saying, oh, call up these organizations. And then when she says she no longer has the energy, now all of a sudden she's giving these hypotheticals like, oh, let's say I do give you money. What are you going to do when that happens? Like, how are you going to pay your rent? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, that just came out of nowhere. And I'm not going to, and when we fall back and say, oh, they're broken too, they're human too. Well, so are we. You know, and I feel like when we say those things, it only applies to certain people rather than all of us. Right. You know, because like, again, right. If because like you know, meanwhile you have the French, you know, specifically over in like, you know, parts of Canada like Quebec or whatever, who don't do any of that. They don't try to like mandate niceness, or they don't try to like deflect. They don't try to like guilt trip or anything. Like, hey, if you don't want to be with this person, or you know, if you, or they're natural, they're authentic. If you confront them over something, they actually cry. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. They don't try to like flip you off or whatever, or get all defensive. Like that's what my friend Jose told me, you know. And that's why she literally went over to this culture, because the English weren't doing anything for her. Like Justin Trudeau's area, they weren't doing anything for her for over 20 years. It's like all those years, I mean, you know, they didn't know her. It was like she was a complete stranger. Whereas the French, it's been weeks, and they're like family. And it's like, it's like, and all because like the you know, this culture, you know, this culture, like they look after their own. You want to talk about Black Lives Matter or whatever? Everybody matters in that culture. But for some reason, you know, we have all the resources. You know, and also they're also getting UBI. You know. But it's like they have to keep parts of their system open because, you know, they can't afford it. If they could afford it, yeah, they could lock down and give people money, you know, and they could like talk about things like LGBTQ rights and autism and various other things.
At a certain point, it's like practice what you preach.
Izzy, are you able to maybe come to your closing now also? Yeah. Because we'd like to respect our guest time. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, then I'll give my closing. Okay, so my Twitter handle is Izzy Bolden, IZZYBOLDEN, and I have a YouTube channel, Izzyland YT. Hopefully, I have enough energy after this to make another video. But also, I also have a podcast called Izzyland Uncut, and there isn't really you know, if we talk about this for hours, we'll talk about this for hours. There's not really much of a time limit, but there's billion introductions. There's a lot of, you know, there's great conversations and stuff. So it's like, yeah. And if you want to be the next guest,
we can just have a whole episode. How about this? Dedicated to accountability and forgiveness and like all that. Let's take a whole hour and a half. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about.
When are you going to have Ariel on your show? Is he?
He did. Izzy has
Invite Ariel
show.
to come on your show so you guys can really discuss
has.
this.
I can bring
Sounds
him on
like
again.
a
I
very
don't
good
mind
topic.
that.
Yeah, we
I
can
can
do
bring
it
him on again.
All
and
right.
talk about that.
So
Yeah.
okay, or
I
vice
mean,
versa.
no,
Maybe
I first gotta.
have you done Ariel's? Have
Yeah,
you done revolutionary
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
yet?
he hasn't done mine. I think he can do mine. You can definitely
That's what
come
we
on, Izzy.
need to do.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Let's-
well,
let's
for me, I
time.
also got like I just had to close out my Zoom subscription. I'm gonna try to do StreamYard because I noticed that my mic was sounding pretty muffled with when using Zoom or whatever for the interviews and stuff. But it sounds a bit like crystal clear
see.
now because I like modified it and stuff. But like StreamYard is I think much more like the mic is not like muffled or there's no interference or whatever. It's the same as like doing just a voiceover, if you're making a podcast and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to switch over that. It's a bit more expensive, but I'm going to give it a shot. Plus you can put your brand up there and stuff. So it's like once I get that set up after
Well, Izzy,
after my
Just let me
Yes,
know. You're welcome
your
anytime,
podcast
man.
has a beautiful
yeah, man.
look to it. It has a very beautiful. I love how you attentive to the graphics and everything and how it looks. You have a great look to
Gee,
it.
thanks.
I wanted to find out. Do you know how to do the live? Check the live stream chat and see how we put our credits in there, Izzy. See if you can do that the same way that we have. Do you see how we type ! credit
Yeah, I think I did.
and then you put
I
your
think I
name?
did that before, but it's like
Okay,
I guess
you
I'll,
want to do that do that on this one too. So we'll have it in the export.
yeah,
All right.
okay.
And Shale, can you
I'll-
take us out?
yeah.
There we go. Yeah, great show, guys. My name is
Testing, 1,
Shale.
2.
Thank you for spending some time with us. My Twitter is ShaelRiley, Shale Riley on Twitter, only on tweet me or check. We'll see you again next more basic. Thanks again.
Like when we say those things, it only applies to certain people rather than all of us.
Right.
Because like again,
Right.
right.